What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Square Enix and what's going down at E3. I will have a streaming schedule up for you guys so you guys can check out all the dates and times, especially in your area, because that's the biggest thing here, when our dates and times starting. So I will have that up for you guys on the channel as well. But Square Enix is actually taking Sony's spot for E3 this year with their own press conference, and they are set to probably have one of their best E3s, if not their best E3 of all time. I really do think Square Enix can be a dark horse to pretty much have the best one out of all the different presentations that we are going to be getting. Once again, I will have that streaming schedule for you guys. So there's a couple different things that I've talked about when it comes to Square Enix. A lot of questions that I get usually, for those who don't know, or if you're new to the channel, I cover a lot of Japanese RPGs. I'm a big fan of Square Enix games. I love their titles. I'm a big fan of what they're doing, and they have a unique take this year when it comes to Square Enix, because one, they're on the big show when it comes to the stage because they're taking Sony's old spot, but two, because they have some of the most iconic IPs, and they've almost set themselves up to pretty much reveal all these different old school Japanese RPGs that they have, in addition to new games as well. So let's go ahead and start with the big things first, and then get into some of the other stuff that we could see from Square Enix at E3. So the first thing that I want to mention here, guys, is the Avengers project. That's obviously going to be their biggest game at E3. That's probably what they'll maybe either lead off the show with or end the show with, or it's going to be one of the enders, because they do have Final Fantasy VII Remake, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But I think the Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics, that is a big IP. That is Marvel, Crystal Dynamics. They know what they're doing with the Tomb Raider series. So I think that's going to be a big thing for them heading into the show. And like I said, it could just start off things with a bang, or they could end it with that. So look forward to having a pretty good premiere of the new Marvel Avenger game. Now, we haven't known really anything about this game. We don't know how it's going to play. We don't know how it's going to look. We don't know exactly what systems it's going to be on outside of probably PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So it's going to be interesting to see that dynamic of that game and how it plays and how close it is to stuff that they've done before. For example, like a Tomb Raider game, because it's Crystal Dynamics, so Tomb Raider. So moving on from that, which they've been making Tomb Raider games for like the past, like what, 10 years or something like that, almost 10 years, 2013 with the reboot. So that this team has been making so many of the Tomb Raider games in that same type of style, and now they're moving over to this here. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about that's going to be a big one, of course, is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Everybody knows that Final Fantasy VII Remake is one of the most anticipated and desired games out there. That game looks absolutely phenomenal. There are some questions when it comes to how it's going to be split up, multi-different parts and things like that. There are some questions if Tifa is even going to get censored, and that's something that I do want to talk about a little bit in this video here. And there are some questions in terms of how much it's going to cost as well, because if they're splitting it up, which we do know that yes, they're going to split it up, but how many parts is it going to be into? When is it going to stop? What's going to be the distribution? When is the game going to launch? I mean, there's just so much unknowns with this game, despite us seeing the game and the game being around since 2015. We knew about this since 2015, yet there's so many unknowns. So I feel that this is finally going to be the time frame that we find out about what's going on with this game, how much maybe it's going to cost, when it's coming, and some more information. Now, the whole big thing here that I've seen online is Tifa. Is Tifa going to be censored because of Sony's policies and all of that? And I'm going to sit here and say, maybe just slightly. Nothing too crazy to where you can notice it right off the back, but maybe there's something in there. And there's like a lot of other scenes in this game. It's not just talk about how Tifa looks, but also just many other things in this game that could potentially be changed up or altered just because. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that. I don't want to scare anybody or act like, oh my god, I'm fear-mongering over a potential censoring of this, but this is just something to consider, guys. So once again, I'm not saying it's gonna 100% happen, but it's just something to consider, considering how Sony doesn't even like certain logos from people with large-chested women on there that are covered up completely, by the way, which that got censored when it comes to like the Omega Labyrinth game. So I mean, Tifa obviously connecting 2 and 2 together here, but we're gonna have to wait and see, guys. We're gonna have to wait and see on that. Now, going on to some of the second tier announcements there, we do know about Star Ocean First Departure. That game just recently got announced that they're doing a remake of the game. I think it's a remake. But also in the Gamatsu article, they also said remaster and remake in the same thing. So is it going to be a complete remake of the game? Completely redone graphics from what they had on the PSP version of the game? Because the PSP version of the game was an actual remake of the original Super Nintendo game. So is this going to be a remake of the PSP PSP game with all new visuals, or is it going to be a remaster where they just take the PSP game and up-res it a bit, makes it better textures here and there? So we're probably going to find out about Star Ocean First Departure at E3, and that's going to be very exciting because Star Ocean games, from what a lot of people have been saying, haven't been as good as they were before. A lot of people like the original Star Ocean 2, and Star Ocean 3 more than what they did with Star Ocean 4 and 5. So it looks like they're just saying, okay, let's go ahead and stop the progression of this. Let's go back to what we know is good and get people in line with the good games on modern systems. That game's coming to PS4 and also to Nintendo Switch. And I think there might be PC as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. So that's going to be one. Now, we do also have Business Division 11, right? So that's Octopath Traveler. That's also Bravely Default. They've talked about they have Octopath Traveler and they also have follow-ups to Bravely Default in the works. So do we see something? Maybe too early for Octopath Traveler. The game is just coming out on PC. We got it last year on the Nintendo Switch. I do think that we could see something from Octopath Traveler maybe next year or something like that. If we see anything from Business Division 11, it's going to be Bravely Default because it's been multiple years since that game has launched. I think 2014 in Japan for that game. So they've been done for a while. That team just really hasn't had anything when it comes to the Bravely series. So I think that we're finally going to see a brand new Bravely Default for the Nintendo Switch at E3. I think that's going to happen. I think Nintendo's going to be involved with it, and I think it's going to be glorious because I absolutely love Bravely Default. I think it's a phenomenal franchise, and there's so much good stuff going in Bravely Default. I want them to bring that good energy over to the Nintendo Switch, so hopefully we see that. Now, another thing that we could see is more of the Oninagi. That game is pretty much dated in Japan. So yeah, we have a date of that game in Japan for August 22nd. That's right around Astral Chain. I think that we're going to get more information on that game at E3, and they haven't talked about it when it comes to a Western release because they wanted to talk about it at their Square Enix Live at E3 type of thing. So that's the reason why they're claiming videos, because they don't want to use that footage, or maybe they have a brand new trailer for the Western audiences because they didn't claim the footage from the first trailer of the game, which was released worldwide. So maybe they have some footage for us when it comes to here in the West, or maybe they even have it looking better than what we can see. So I'm excited for that game as well. Tokyo RPG Factory. I think third time is a charm for them. Now moving on to some slim, but maybe there is just a bit of a chance of seeing this. Now the game that I've been holding here, maybe some of you guys have seen it come up, and that is Chrono Trigger. I actually just bought a brand new copy of Chrono Trigger on the Nintendo DS. Okay, this game is becoming rare. It's becoming expensive in some parts, especially brand new. This is a tiny cartridge-based version of the original Super Nintendo game, but many people feel that this is the best version of Chrono Trigger ever made because of the new stuff added, because you can play the game anywhere that you want, the extra content. It looks really good, but this is a phenomenal port of Chrono Trigger, and I'm thinking that we could finally see a tease. Finally, Square Enix loves to do their teases. We can finally see something when it comes to the Chrono Trigger franchise. Guys, this has been something that has needed to happen for a long time. We have needed to see something in the Chrono Trigger franchise for so long. We've gotten Chrono Cross. I have that game on the PS1 as well. We got Chrono Trigger. We got that Radical Dreamer stuff. That's not even really a game. I don't even really consider that part of it, but that's all we've got. For a franchise that's this epic, as good as Chrono Trigger is, there is no reason why there shouldn't be some funds invested into making a follow-up to Chrono Cross, or making a follow-up to Chrono Trigger, which Chrono Cross really kind of is. So just continuing the series going forward. Now, here's a couple things that I don't want to see with this, because I see people talk about this all the time. No, I don't want to see Chrono Trigger in Octopath style. Would I buy that? Yes, I would buy it. But do I want to see that? No. Octopath is Octopath. Chrono Trigger is Chrono Trigger. At the time, for those who don't know, Chrono Trigger was the highest of AAA type of games, okay? That game cost $70 when it launched on the Super Nintendo back in like 1995 or whatever the case is. It was an expensive game to develop. It had a dream team of developers, some of them which were Monolith Soft that we see here today. You also had Nobuo Uematsu, you also had Akira Toriyama on the art, and you also had Hironobu Sakaguchi as well, the creator of Final Fantasy, all making this game. And that's why the art in the game is amazing, that's why the music in the game is amazing, and that's why the gameplay is amazing, because it was all of them at their peak, at their best, making a game. And that's what I would want for this next Chrono Trigger game. I don't want it to be a small budget type of game. I don't want it to be just something that's thrown off to the side, or let's just give them a bone. I want them to put all they've got into a Chrono Trigger game. Chrono Cross, they put all they got into that game. It was a big undertaking on the PS1. It was a 3-disc game back then. So I want them to put that type of effort that they put into the original Chrono Trigger and into Chrono Cross into a new game. Not just saying, oh, well, there's another style, let's just go ahead and use that style because let's not spend any money on this. So if they did bring Chrono Trigger back, I think they need to do it in the right way that's respectful to the people who originally created the franchise and also to the fans of the franchise that are looking for that type of experience and not borrowing somebody else's experience that made that game be what it is, because Chrono Trigger came well before Octopath and everything. It doesn't need that style. What it needs is an evolution of what they were doing back in 1995. What it needs is that type of evolution brought forward into the modern age and make it uniquely Chrono, make it uniquely the Chrono style. So that's my whole thought process on this, if it should be like that. I don't think so. I don't think it should be like Octopath, or it should be done like in a retro style. It should be that type of game where it's like a big RPG, like a Final Fantasy, just like how Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross was back in the 90s and early 2000s. So Square Enix has a lot, right? I mean, there's more stuff that they can talk about at E3. They have a big show ready. They have some Western IPs as well. Maybe we see something with Tomb Raider. They have some other things that they can talk about as well. But those are kind of my highlights that really kind of show that Square Enix can definitely win E3, or they might be right up there with one of the best E3s out there because of the type of IPs that they got and because of the stage that they have this year without Sony being there. So what do you guys think about Square Enix and what they could be doing at E3? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for this RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.